Though Kaguya was defeat, Naruto and Sasuke stared each other down at the Valley of the End with nothing but determination and conviction on their faces. For the briefest of moments as they caught their breath, they had both been fighting for several days straight, and though Kaguya was sealed, all their training, rage, determination, and conviction lead to this final showdown between brothers only separated by blood. They were both engulfed in purple and golden-orange churka. Sasuke clad in Susanoo, while Naruto adored his KSM2 form with Kurama's 9 tails swaying in the wind. Their first contact in these forms had gone as they both expected. It was a stalemate, but neither of them planned for it to stay that way for very long. The two of them traded blows, blocking and dodging swipes of swords and claws. Neither of them were making any ground. Sasuke knew he had to make something happen soon, and Naruto felt the same way. The two of them backed away from one another, their chakra control was so perfect that the water did little more than ripple as they moved away from each other. "What, is that all you've got? You'll die if you keep slacking like that," said Sasuke. Naruto remained silent for a moment, just staring at his Susanoo-clad teammate backdropped by the crumbling valley. Naruto narrowed his eyes and glared. "There's no way I'm letting you kill me. You're going on with this whole lone wolf act again. My one and only best friend, choosing this place precisely because you knew what it meant to both of us. There's no way I'm leaving you alone." Naruto shouted. A Chidori screamed to life in Susanoo's right hand as a Baijidama swirled into existence within Kurama's mouth. They charged at one another, the once calm waters being flung into the air behind them. Sasuke activated a Meno Dejikara. Naruto was moved toward him in an instant, forced to switch places with a few droplets of water. Sasuke plunged his hand forward, but Naruto was not deterred by his forced movement, meeting the Chidori with his Baijidama. The two attacks clashed, and their power engulfed the combatants in a ball of light, and when the ball faded, they were gone. Sasuke's eyes opened as he sat up. He was in a bed in a dimly lit room. "So you're finally awake." A familiar woman's voice came from his left side. Sasuke's head snapped to where the voice had came from, and as he saw who was sitting there, his eyes widened and watered. Sitting in a chair a foot away from the bed was his mother, Makoto. Sasuke's voice began to crack as he forced the words out of his mouth. "But how? Am I dead?" Makoto's hand reached out and stroked Sasuke's head. "Oh, my baby boy, how you've grown." She began to smile a genuine smile. "But no, you are not dead, but I will say you put in a lot of effort trying to—" She chuckled a little. Sasuke's eyes looked down in shame. He hated disappointing his mother when he was a kid, and at the age of 16, nothing seemed to have changed. Makoto, noticing his downcast look, got up and sat on the bed next to Sasuke. Now enough of that." She then puts her hand on his chin and lifts it up to where she was, so they were looking each other in the eyes. "I don't have much time, so I'm going to make this brief." She then takes a deep breath. "I love you, son. That being said, you are wrong in your approach." She then taps his forehead as Itachi would do while giving a gentle smile. "Hate can only breed more hate. You are simply repeating a cycle. That being said, son, at this point in your life, you are your own man. But I really want you to think about how you destroying yourself and everything you will reflect on the legacy of everyone who gave all they had to keep you safe and on the right path." Sasuke's eyes widened as his first thought wasn't Itachi or Kakashi, his mom, or even his dad. It was Adabi, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed idiot, who no matter what never gave up on him and risked his life to save him from his own darkness. Sasuke began to breath heavy as this revelation started affecting him physically. "Mom, what am I dash?" As he looked up, his mom was gone. Sasuke began looking left and right for his mom, but only then did he notice the little candle that illuminated the room was beginning to get dimmer. A loud dripping sound began ringing in his ears, and he put his hands over his ears and closed his eyes. The dripping began getting to unbearable volumes, and Sasuke began to get frustrated. "Enough!" he yelled, and he suddenly felt a drip of water hit his forehead, and his eyes snapped open. When Sasuke opened his eyes, he saw a rocky ceiling filled with wet rocks and some type of glowing insects that lit up the cavern along with a few torches evenly spaced out on the wall. He began to attempt to sit up, but realized for some reason he couldn't move his arms and legs. "What now?" Sasuke said in a frustrated tone as he looked down to see he was bound by some kind of silk rope. I'm really not in the mood for this right now. Sasuke's lack of sleep and food, consistent fighting, and current injuries all combined to put him in a foul mood with zero patience. A kunai slid from out of his shirt into his hands, and he cut himself out of the silk rope. Even without his Sharingan active, Sasuke's shinobi training allowed him to be able to see in dimly lit locations. As soon as Sasuke was free, he was up scanning the cavern. Analyzing his surroundings, he noticed he was in a massive cave, gray rocks protruding randomly down the corridor, while beetle-like insects lit up in the dark, crawling in and round the rocks on the ceiling. On the side of the wall were posts with torches on them that were lit and spread out evenly 10 feet from each other, as far as Sasuke could see down the cavern. Huh. Where hell am I and how did I get here? As Sasuke looked at the floor, he became more aware of his situation. On the floor were 8 corpses, each in different stages of decay. All were wrapped in the same silky rope he was in, and... Wait. Saki paused as he looked at a corpse that seemed to have horns and a tail, but looked mostly human otherwise. What the hell is that? He asked. Sasuke walked over to the corpse to get a better look at it. When he was about 3 feet from the corpse, he stepped on a bone, and the crack echoed throughout the cave. Shit. Sasuke mentally cursed himself, as he had a feeling this would bring whatever seemed to be feeding on people towards him, considering he apparently was on the menu. Speaking of feeling, Sasuke thought to himself, I don't feel chakra at all. Sasuke furrowed his brow in thought, then sighed. Will Naka get answers standing around here? Suddenly, Sasuke's battle instincts kicked in, and he ducked, barely missing a sharp leg swiping towards his head. Sasuke then flipped forward, dodging another swipe, and landing a few feet away. Coming from the ceiling was a 20-foot-tall spider. It was black, with 3 purple rings on its back that lit up. It had a mouth with several sharp teeth, and 2 huge fangs that protruded out of it. Its legs ended in a sharp point that made them look more like mini swords than legs, and the several eyes looked at him with the intensity of a hungry predator whose prey was trying to escape. Sasuke cursed his luck, putting his hand on Kusanagi, preparing to draw it, as he began to slowly back away from the massive spider to create space. Oh, you're quite the brave human to face me head-on instead of fleeing like the rest. Though they never get very far, your race is not particularly strong to begin with. Sasuke's face was one of utter confusion. Since when do spiders talk? He said out loud, confirm he in for sure heard the voice of a female from a spider of all things. And here I thought it was well known that a Dreadina has the ability to talk. The spider chuckles amusing. Well, not to many who we encounter survive. So I guess there wouldn't be a lot of stories making it back to the surface. The surface, Sasuke began to ponder on that information, but he didn't want to divulge the fact he had no clue where he was at. Sasuke decided to pry for information using his shinobi training. Well, I'm headed toward the surface, and I prefer not to have to kill you, so if you don't mind, I have places to be. Sasuke's hand never left his sword. The spider began to laugh. A human kill me. She began to laugh harder. Maybe if you were part of a strong party or an A-rank adventurer, but I sense no mana in you. There hasn't even been a human who has been able to scratch me in 20 years. Sasuke's face remained unreadable as the spider talked, all while soaking up the information the spider was unknowingly freely giving him. You think if the kingdom of Omen had an individual capable of defeating me, they would let him go to the 43rd floor of a dungeon alone. She began to laugh again. Sasuke thought to himself, so I'm 43 floors down in a dungeon, and in order to get to the surface, I have to make my way up. He then sighs, how annoying. I suppose I should figure out which direction to go before I kill this thing. Sasuke spoke out loud. So is that a no? Because I'm kind of in a rush to get back to the surface. Sasuke's face remained unreadable and uninterested. The spider stopped laughing. My, how confident you are. The spider completely came off the ceiling and stood 30 feet from Sasuke. And how do you suppose you will be able to get past me? Sasuke smirked as the spider took the bait. He thought to himself, good, now I know what direction I need to head towards. This thing has been useful for information, but now it's time for me to start moving to get some real answers. The spider put up its 2 front legs and rubbed them together. The sharpness of its legs began to create sparks as the spider grinned, showing her sharp teeth. Too bad you have to die. You're very attractive for a human, however natural selection, and all that nothing personal. As she began to charge her Sasuke, disappeared, she skidded to a halt as she began looking everywhere for the Uchiha and not finding him. That's impossible, she said in frustration, as she turned to look behind her and saw that he was walking towards where a set of winding stairs were leading up to the 42th floor of the dungeon. She growled in rage. I don't know what kind of trick you used, but it won't be enough to get away from me. Sasuke stopped, walking for a minute, and with a cold, uninterested look on his face, turned half his head to show in his eyes to the spider. Get away from you for what you're already dead. Sasuke then turned around toward the staircase and continued walking. The spider roared with anger. You little brat, I'll devour you slowly. She began to charge at Sasuke again, but for some reason her body would not move. What is this? More of your cheap tricks. Sasuke continued walking up the stairs, paying no mind to Spider. The spider boiled with anger. Run if you can, little human, but I have your scent. And with that, there is Dash. As she looked at the floor, she realized her head was falling away from her body. Wait, when did he? She thought back to what happened after the human had disappeared, and realized when he said she was already dead, he was sheathing his sword at the same time. And no. No body is that fast. No body. As the light began to fade from her eyes, all she could feel was confusion. Sasuke began to get frustrated as he made it to the 28 things he had encountered while he was in the dungeon were, bizarre to put it lightly. To his relief, most of them could not speak, therefore he didn't have to worry about being subjected to monologues. He spent his time killing monster, moving through the dungeon, which was enormous, and consistently changed floor 31 to 25. He encountered nothing but these dogs with 2 heads and sticky tails. The dungeon turned into a forest and was almost always night, making it hard to see the stupid dogs when they tried to ambush you. Sasuke scratched his head in frustration. Though annoyed, Sasuke saw them as an annoying nuisance that was barely even worth his time. He did, however, pepper the forest over the rocky cave, so he got most of his sleep to help him recover on those floors. He still had some rations in his storage seal from the war, so he wouldn't starve, but eventually he would run, decided his first order of business should be to get out of this place. Sasuke's cloths were tattered and blood-stained, so one night, while he sat on a tree branch, he checked his storage seal to see what cloths he had. A puff of smoke brought forth an Akatsuki cloak with a hood on it. Sasuke smirked as this reminded him of his last conversation with his brother. Itachi would probably be rolling in his grave seeing me put this on. He then sighs as his expression saddens, though it wouldn't be the first time, I guess. The next morning, Sasuke takes off to head to the next couple of floors. The plan in his mind was that his rations will run out in a week, so he should be able to either be out on the surface by then or have run into other people. Honestly, I'm surprised I haven't run into any of those adventurer people yet. Sasuke thought while cutting off an ogre head on the 15th floor these monsters aren't strong whatsoever. So I'm curious what the power of a normal human is in this world. Obviously, that spider didn't have a high opinion of us. Sasuke's slight moved to the left, dodging an arrow, and threw a kunai into the eye of a goblin, killing it instantly. He then parried another goblin and stabbed him through the chest. As another goblin came behind, Sasuke casually sidestepped as the goblin lunged past him. Sasuke thrust his sword that was still in the other goblin's chest sideways, cutting both of them inside. This is so boring. If you're a true Naruto fan, hit that like button and subscribe for more anime stories.